Welcome to another episode of the Wisco Fanatics Show, where we cover the Packers, Bucks, Brewers, and Badgers basketball and football teams from an optimistic and realistic perspective.
Welcome back to another Wisco Fanatics Tuesday evening. We are wrapping up our Wisco Fanatics Draft Series tonight. We will still be live next Tuesday. Next Tuesday is going to be our mock draft episode. And with that comes the conversation that Jake and I were having before the show. And we're talking about looking at, I made myself a big board today. So if you see me looking to my left and I'm looking at, that's where my big board is hanging up. I got a big old dry erase board hanging here. We're talking about and Jake was just telling me, he's like, I was looking at this and then I was looking at these guys. So I know we're talking about corners today. We're also talking about defensive linemen. We're talking about edge rushers. And Jake was just kind of going through his cornerbacks and kind of walking me through what he's thinking about that.
Yeah. So going through the history of the Packers drafting, they like to double dip at needy positions. And this goes way back. We talk a lot about what they did with the safety position, which was pretty recent, which is definitely makes sense. They did it with tight ends recently with Tucker Kraft and Luke Musgrave. They did it with wide receivers when they took Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs. I mean, they took Reed and Wicks in the same draft the year after.
Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams.
Williams.
Aaron Rodgers and Brian Braum even.
Right. I mean, think about Brett Favre. You drafted Aaron Rodgers early. You made him sit. They did the same thing. They had a quarterback, but they drafted one to get him ready. So they consistently are going after these multiple positions, being like, we're going to throw most of our resources here because this was a huge need. So, when I'm thinking about it, I'm like, okay, I'm looking at all my positions here. I'm going through my D-line, my edge, my corners. I was doing this all today as I was rewriting them. I was telling Tyler I got these little sheets of paper, and I, organized it and made it look nice for today's show. And I really think that the Packers are going to take a corner in the second and the fourth. In the third round, there's a guy in the second round that I didn't highlight, but he would be a perfect fit for Green Bay. And I think that they're going to go D-line in the third round. So they're going to go corner, D-line / D-tackle. Then they're going to go corner. And then in the fourth or fifth, they're going to take one of the edge rushers that they like in the fourth or fifth round. And there's a couple guys that I like on my list. There's one that I'm going to highlight, obviously one that me and you were a pretty big fan of this last year that you know of. But I really think that's how the draft is going to work out. Now, obviously, it remains to be seen. And we were talking today with Simon, actually, and made me realize that the draft is next freaking Thursday, dude.
Yeah.
Whoa! What happened to this year, bro?
Yeah.
Holy cow, dude.
Yeah, we're in the second quarter already.
Oh, my God, dude. What is going on? It went so fast. But anyways, let's get it on, dude. I'm ready. Sporting the new Wisco hat, by the way.
Nice.
And people definitely say that.
Nobody calls it Wisco. I'm like, excuse me? I commented it from our page, and I'm like, excuse me?
People definitely say it.
Taylor, welcome back. It's definitely thunderstorming here. Cash and asked what is happening. We're talking defensive linemen to start. So today we're going to have defensive linemen. We're going to have edge rushers. We're going to have cornerbacks, like Jake said. Honestly, just that conversation that you're having, it's fascinating. That's where we're at, and that's why I'm really excited. No, I haven't flown off to Kansas yet.
No.
It's a fascinating conversation to have because it's one of those situations now where it makes it so much easier for us. Hey, Dorothy and Toto. Jake can be Toto.
Yeah, my dog's going nuts upstairs.
Where we're doing our draft approach so much differently this year by looking at it where the Packers are picking, doing it by round, and then making a top 5, top 10, which today we're going to be having 5 defensive linemen, 10 edges, and 10 corners. Tom Brady's not coming back unless it's for the flag football championship. And that's what we're doing. And then we're doing it by where we would see guys picked versus, just 1 through 10. The example that I always give is the 2024 tackle class. There was a record number of tackles selected in the first round. We did a top 10 that list. 9 out of the 10 went in the first round. So that's not beneficial. So what we're doing is we're giving all of the names, and then next Tuesday when we have these conversations, we can look at our big boards and be like, okay, we're looking at a wide receiver in the 3rd round, but I have wide receivers that I like in the 4th round, the 6th round, and maybe even a couple 6th, 7th round guys with both of the picks the Packers have. that's why I think what we're doing this year is a little bit more beneficial from a talking standpoint. So I'm excited to do it that way. So Jake, let's jump into the defensive linemen, and we'll start with the second round. Are there any D linemen that you would take in the second round?
Yeah, I told you before, there's one guy in the second round that I would be elated if they took, and it's Lee Hunter from Texas Tech. I mean, this guy is just filthy, super quick, powerful hand. He can play multiple gaps. He can stretch the line in the run game. He is worth a second-round pick, in my opinion. He would be a great fit in this new Cannon defense in Green Bay. Hey, from Australia.
Rick said love from Australia. Love that. It's always a really cool thing, and thank you for being the one to do that. It's always a really cool thing to see comments from like other countries and stuff. It's super cool. So thank you for that. So looking at the second round, I also have Lee Miller in the second round. And then I have Kristen Miller from Georgia as well. He has visited with the Packers already, so honestly, it wouldn't shock me to see the Packers go D tackle / D lineman in the second round.
He was a fringe second round guy for me, and obviously you know that I'm going to talk about him a little bit more. But he was a fringe second round guy for me. But I was like, I think I'd be a little bit more happy with him in the third.
I had some guys too like that where I'm like, maybe if we trade back a little bit, or maybe if we trade up a little bit. So if I have guys like that, I'll make that caveat. Jump into the third round. Any D lineman you would take in the third round?
Well, obviously, I just said that I would take Christian Miller out of Georgia. I'll talk a little bit more in depth about him in a little bit here. I have Caleb Banks from Florida. I think that he's a really good prospect. Dante Claymore from Cincinnati. He's a good player. And Dominique Orange from Iowa State. 6'2", 322 pounds. Moves a little bit quicker than a guy that weighs 322 pounds, in my opinion. So I think he'd be a solid pick in the third round.
Rick, thank you again. We appreciate it. That's awesome. We appreciate it again. Thank you. Okay. For third round, I only have one guy, and it's Dante Corleone from Cincinnati. The only guy that I got in the third round. It gets heavy the next two. Just be aware.
That's fair. All
right. Going to the fourth round, who would you select in the fourth round?
I have Darrell Jackson from Florida State. Couple of reasons. He has the talent to be up around, just not the production, in my opinion. And DeMonte Capehart from Clemson, one of the most athletic D tackles, I mean, literally in history. Everything I read about him is he's super athletic, but he's also a guy that his athletic build didn't lead up to better stats. So that kind of should correlate a little bit more than it did for him, but he's super athletic. He'd be interesting in the middle, late rounds.
All righty. So the fourth round is where I have Caleb Banks. It's also where I have Darrell Jackson Jr. It's also where I have DeMonte Capehart, and then I also have Xavier Harris. In the fourth round.
You were not wrong, by the way. He is massive. I know you're going to talk a little bit more, but he is a gigantic human being.
Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about Xavier Harris. Spoiler alert, he's my guy that I highlighted. All right, fifth round. Fifth round, guys. Who'd you take at D-line in the fifth?
I have Skylar Gill Howard from Texas Tech. Buddy right next to Lee Hunter, his partner in crime. That's where I have Xavier Harris, and then I have Tim Keenan III from Alabama. He's a team captain, very smart guy, very strong. Just a run defender, not really much of a pass rusher, but that's why he's mainly in the fifth round.
All righty. In the fifth round, I have Dominique Orange, that you mentioned already. I have Rayshawn Benny from Michigan. I have Chris McClellan, and then I have Jordan Vandenberg from Georgia Tech, another guy that the Packers have met with.
Yes, they did.
All righty. What about the sixth round?
That's where I have Aaron Graves from Iowa and Cameron Ball from Arkansas.
Sixth round, the only guy that I have there is Tim Keenan III.
Okay.
Seventh round.
That's where I have Bryson Eason from Tennessee, 6'2", 323 pounds, just a whole plugger. Brandon Cleveland from NC State, a little bit quicker, a little bit leaner. And Keon Ware-Hudson from Oregon, 6'2", 305. Just a guy that still trying to figure it out, even though he's slowly improved over his career. But he probably should go undrafted, but he could be one of those guys where you're like, okay, I think we have something here. We can maybe make this work. Like I've said with seventh rounders before, we're just going to take him so we guaranteed to get him is kind of how I feel about some of these 7th-round picks, especially since we have like the last pick in the draft. I mean, that could be a spot where you take a guy like Keenan Ware Hudson out of Oregon, figure it out.
Yeah. So I've split up my 7th rounders when we've done our draft series here, between 236 and 255. With that same mentality, like 236 is like where I'm thinking like, okay, that's our 7th rounder. And then the 255 one is like, who is a guy you're trying to keep from reaching undrafted free agency? Mm-hmm. So at 236, I have Bobby Jamison Travis from Auburn. He's 6'4", 322. I have Nick Barrett from South Carolina, 6'3", 322. And then at 255, I had David Gusta from Kentucky.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned this when we were talking about our 5th rounder, but the Packers did pick up an additional 5th rounder. Scott, welcome back. The Packers did pick up an additional 5th rounder with the trade of Dontavian Wicks, which if you go back and watch that would be our 2nd show, the wide receivers and tight end show. We cover wide receivers and tight ends with the thought in mind that Dontavian Wicks could be traded and Romeo Doubs could sign elsewhere. And both of those things ended up happening. So, just a little pat on the back for us, and just a little bit of a tooting our own horn on knowing ball a little bit and being prepared for those situations, and that's why we covered that position. So,
yes, sir.
All right, with no further ado, let's jump into our top 5s. I'll give you the not a warning, but just a heads up that I did rule out a lot of 4-3 defensive ends. So you might have heard guys on Jake's list that were not on my list. I just ruled them out because I'm really not looking for the Packers to grab any guys like that. So my top 5 is very defensive tackle heavy. And Scott said, hopefully we can make a splash yet. Dexter, maybe. I mean, I would be 100% on board. But it does sound like the Giants are trying to make it work. But I mean,
understandable.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
I'd be more than excited to make it happen. So.
Yeah. My spoiler alert is I also have all defensive tackles, and these guys have 2 things in common. 1, all my guys are good run defenders, and 2, they're guys that can play multiple spots on the D-line. They can play a 0 tech or a 3 tech. So all my guys have kind of that versatility because, in my mind, yes, we're switching our main base defense. I still think that we're going to play a little bit of 4-3. We have a little bit of flexibility with the way that we've been drafting over the last couple of years, like a guy like a LVN. I mean, Micah Parsons can obviously stand up or put his hand in the ground. Remains to be seen what Barron Sorrell can turn into. We got Carl Brooks. Be interesting to see what he could turn into with a new defensive mind, a little bit different philosophies. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. This draft is – I don't want to say this draft is like super duper important, but on a scale of like 1 through 10, if I had to put a scale on it, it'd probably be like a 7 for me. Like, it's a pretty important draft to kind of set us up, for the years that we're going to be paying Micah and Jordan Love this big time money. So you got to create depth, especially at D-line. I've been talking about it for months now at this point.
Yeah. And it featured heavily in our free agency show that we did back in March. And, I agree with you as well on like the 7, like, it's not like, oh my God, we have to nail this draft or like our window's going to start closing. It's not that dire of a situation, but the Packers need to refill some depth. That's part of what they've done this offseason was let some depth go because they know they're getting a little bit more top heavy with some of the stars that they have drafted. And then obviously the superstar that they traded for. So all that said, hit me with your number 5 defensive lineman.
That's where I have Tim Keenan III from Alabama. I have his value in the 5th round.
All right. Number 5 is where I have your guy, Lee Hunter. I have him in the 2nd.
My number 4 is where I have Darrell Jackson out of Florida State. His value for me is in the 4th round.
All righty. For me, my number 4 is DeMonte Capehart in the 4th round. I don't think I mentioned this, and I'm not sure if you did either. At 6'5", 315 from Clemson, he has a 997 relative athletic score.
Yeah, dude, he's athletic.
That's a freak athlete that is 100% a guy that's going to be on the Packers' radar when it comes to stuff like that. So, when we get into it next week, we'll have those kind of conversations as we're doing some mock drafts. 2 Australia comments in one day. This is awesome.
Yo, what is going on, guys?
Appreciate it, Music World. That's awesome. 2 comments from Australia on one night. Love that.
Worldwide. Wisco worldwide, baby. Let's go.
Settle down, Pitbull. All right.
Hey, dude, actually, this is so random. I saw a video of him, and he said, if you want to know what generational pull is, it's if you Google Pitbull right now, I come up before the dog. And I was like, you know what? He's right on that. That is generational. You come up before the breed of dog. That's crazy. And Pitbulls are very popular. So, anyways, crazy sidebar in an episode we're talking about defensive linemen. But anyways, here we go.
All because you said Wisco Worldwide.
I know, dude.
But nobody says
number
Wisco.
My number three, we're going to get back on track here. My number three, that's where I have Caleb Banks from Florida. I have his value in the third round. Sneaky good, in my opinion.
My number three is Kristen Miller from Georgia. He's valued or projected, I should say, in the second round. That's where I have him as well. He is a guy that I think has that versatility. Looking at his PFF numbers on where he lines up, in 2025, he lined up in the A gap on 284 snaps, lined up in the B gap in 639 snaps, and lined up over the tackle in 139 snaps. So there's some versatility, and we know that the Packers love their versatility in the trenches.
Oh, yeah. So continuing the trend of talking about Christian Miller, because he's my number two, and this is the guy that I'm highlighting. Christian Miller, Georgia, 6'4", 321 pounds, ran a 4.9 40, which is insanely fast for a guy who's 320 pounds. I mean, I just want people to take a second and think about a man that size moving 40 yards in under 5 seconds. That is not normal. For everybody that sits there in September and October and November and is like, how come he didn't make that tackle? Brother, these are the 1% of the 1%, brother.
Mm-hmm.
These guys are insanely athletic. I just want people to understand that. My favorite thing about Christian Miller, it's going to be your favorite thing. It's going to be every Packers fan's favorite thing. What kind of guys do we always gravitate to? Guys that play hard. And one thing that you can always look forward to and always count on when a guy on the defensive line has a high motor. He is a high motor guy. Chases plays down the line. He doesn't give up on plays when he's stalled. He just continues working, getting to the quarterback, pushing the gap from the center or the guard position, sometimes the tackle, like you said. He works all gaps, A and B and C gap. He has very, very heavy hands. His first punch is just devastating. And that's usually what you talk about when you talk about, with tackles, when they try to, especially when they're trying to get a speed rusher, right? Defensive tackles is kind of the same thing because they want to be in control. So you want to be able to control where you're going. His very, very good hands. He can redirect traffic and control where he goes, running down running backs. Very good balance and body control for a guy that size, paired with a really, really good first step. Now, I keep saying for a guy that size because you have to take this into consideration when you're looking at quickness. Is he going to be as quick as a wide receiver? No. But
not going to be as quick as a linebacker for that matter.
Exactly. You got it. That first step is so important for a defensive lineman. You get that first step quick. You get that punch out. And those are the guys that are elite, the ones that do that well, right? So he does a very good job of that. Very good run defender with some pass rush upside. Now, his pass rush numbers aren't the greatest, but there is upside there, in my opinion. And I think he is the perfect match next to Devontae Wyatt, where Devontae Wyatt's a little bit more pass rusher, and he's improved as a run defender. I'm not throwing any shade at Devontae Wyatt whatsoever. Nope. He has improved as a run defender. He needed to. He's a very good pass rusher, where Christian Miller, same college, is a better run defender and has upside with the pass rush. So, I mean, pairing those two guys together would be amazing. He finished his career with 1,076 snaps and 43 career games at Georgia. So this guy played in the SEC, played a ton of games, played a ton of snaps. He was a team captain. I mean, this guy's impressive. And when you turn on the Georgia film, I took something out of your book, because when I was watching other players and I'm scouting corners, some of them from Georgia, Christian Miller kept popping off the screen to me, forcing quarterbacks to move, readjusting the pocket, forcing the quarterbacks to get rid of it early so these DBs can go get the football. I mean, Christian Miller, that's a very good top 30 visit for the Packers, and that would be a tremendous pick.
Yeah. So to your point, and I just wanted to throw this out there, you're talking about getting that quick first step, how important that quick first step is, quick first step.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had that brief conversation about that the quickness isn't going to be like a wide receiver or even a linebacker quickness. But the thing is if you can get a quick first step, especially on something like, say, an outside zone run, and you can get outside the tackle and be outside the tackle before that handoff is made, and you can push a running back to the inside on a play that he wants to run outside, that's a big deal.
Yes.
That makes life super easy for your linebackers to end up with 12 tackles in a game. So that stuff is important. It doesn't show up on tape unless you're talking about something like Jake is talking about with that quick first step. That stuff matters, but it's not measurable.
Yes.
Okay. My number 2 guy is another guy that the Packers met with, and it's Jordan Vandenberg from Georgia Tech. And you might think, oh, Georgia Tech, that's not a big football school. He played it 3 years at Penn State before that as well. So he's got some big school pedigree. I think he went to Georgia Tech just to kind of have a bigger role. He's another guy with some versatility. He played 208 snaps in the A gap and 1,041 snaps in the B gap. So I think there's some versatility there as well. Another guy, good athlete, strong motor. It's not a coincidence that Jake's talking about guys with strong motors. It's going to come up a lot when we talk about the edge rushers. It's one of the reasons we love Micah Parsons. It's one of the reasons why we very strongly considered trading Rashawn Gary, and then it ended up happening. That stuff matters. It does. I mean, the guy that I always think of when you think about guys with motors that you want to see succeed, the guy that I go back to all the time is Jack Heflin. And that's like the 56th man on the roster for some of the early 2020 Packers teams. But the guy didn't stop. We'd be watching a preseason game, and a guy would rip off a 12-yard run, and then you see the opposite side defensive end making the tackle. And it's like, dude, where did that guy come from? Who is that? And it's Jack Heflin. It's a guy that you wanted to see make the team because he played hard and he didn't give up on plays.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's one of the things you'll see it once in a while. You'll see there's a play that it always sticks out to me is a Fred Warner play of why it makes him the best linebacker in football, where there's a play where he's dropping back into coverage and the ball gets checked down to the running back and he's standing between the hashes and there's 12 guys from both teams standing between him and the running back, and he ends up being the guy to go and make the guy on the ground. Like the running back ends up getting kind of tripped up over a pile of guys and tries to jump over it, and Fred Warner just puts a big old shoulder into him and he bounces off of him out of bounds. And it's like, whoa, where did Fred Warner come from that play? And it's like, he watched the ball and he hunted it.
Yep.
He didn't say oh, one of the guys on my team between me and the ball is going to make that tackle.
Yep.
So that stuff matters. And then him being a good high IQ guy, he had good athletic testing at his pro day, I read in some reports. But I would be very interested in Jordan Vandenberg in the 5th round just because he is a little bit older, could use a little bit of a deeper pass rush bag, and his lateral quickness is a little inconsistent. But I would be very, very happy with Jordan Vandenberg in the 5th round.
Yeah, for sure. My number 1 guy is Lee Hunter out of Texas Tech. I talked a little bit about him, not to exhaust anybody, but he's just, first of all, he went to Texas Tech and followed a ton of people to that oil money that they got down there. They're about to get more. But that's besides the point. I mean, he's a freak, dude. He played with a bunch of good players, like I said, but he was causing a lot of the issues and a reason that their defense was as good as it was. And they were ranked in the top 5, top 10 consistently all season long. The guy just collapsed the pocket almost every snap I watched. I was like, dude, this guy is just a fucking monster, dude. But yeah, Lee Hunter in a second would be a tremendous pick.
The thing that I have written under Lee Hunter that I was so impressed with, and I highlighted it in green just for the sake of making sure that I said it when we talked about him, is his ability to handle double teams. Packers going back to a 3-4, once in a while you're going to have to handle 2 offensive linemen as a defensive lineman, and him having that, basically we talk about anchor when we talk about offensive linemen, him having the anchor to be able to hold up 2 offensive linemen, and then, again, helping out your linebackers, that's going to make their lives really easy. So I'm strongly on board with Lee Hunter. However, my number 1 guy is not a guy who's going to be the first off the board when it comes to defensive tackles. I have him in the 4th round, even though he's projected to go in the 6th or the 7th. And there are some very, very specific reasons why I have Xavier Harris as my number 1 guy. Coming out of Ole Miss, and he's 330 pounds. Big reason why, literally big reason, is that he's 6'8".
Massive, dude.
6'8", for
Dude,
a
he's
defensive tackle. That's
Calais
a
Campbell.
ridiculous size human being to be playing defensive tackle.
Yeah, right.
So he had 336 run defensive plays, had a 77.5 grade. Again, we take grades with a grain of salt from PFF. Had 354 pass rushes at a 62.3 grade with 24 pressures and 3 sacks. Now, his missed tackle percentage is relatively low. He had 32 run stops, which is great. And for a guy his size, he has good burst, good quickness. He's a good athlete. He's good laterally. He's got a good motor. He's got good IQ. And his length is an absolute weapon. And the thing that I noticed him doing with his length is to swim over offensive linemen. That was one of the number one thing I'm seeing him do is he's just trying to swim through the gaps by just getting his arms over the offensive lineman and being 5 inches taller than some of those interior guys. All you're going to do is get a holding penalty. That's all you're going to be doing. You're going to be grabbing his armpits, and then he's just going to go like this, and you're going to see the jersey tug, and boom, holding penalty. It's an absolute weapon for him to be that tall. And then the other thing is when he actually is engaged with offensive linemen, his arms are long as shit. He just reaches out and just grabs running backs sometimes.
True.
That length is an absolute weapon. Now, I will say, with that length does come occasionally high pad level. It's kind of hard to just be 5 inches taller than the guy you're going against and then also get lower than him. So there's that, and I do still think he could potentially add some strength even at 330 pounds, but he's got the frame for it. So if he gets to 6'8", say 350, it's not even going to look like he's Snacks Harrison. It's going to look like it actually works on him, and then I think with that could also come the Reggie White hump move where he just puts his arm into somebody's armpit and uses one arm to just completely discard somebody.
Yeah.
I love the ceiling for Xavier Harris. It's why I'm willing to go 2 rounds earlier than we might necessarily have to on him. All right. Edge rushers. Packers are going to be in line for an edge rusher. They traded Rashawn Gary. They lost Kingsley Enagbare to the Jets. So they're going to be in the market. Mm-hmm. That said, let's start with the second round. Who would you take for the Packers in the second round as an edge rusher?
So it's a guy that is projected in the first round, but I think he might slip just because of lack of production this last year for the University of Clemson. The entire University of Clemson football team had a lack of production, to be honest with you. TJ Parker out of Clemson, he would be an absolute steal in the second round. R. Mason Thomas out of Oklahoma. And I have Zion Young out of Missouri, 6'6", 262 pounds. The guy's built like a freaking brick shit house, to be honest with you. He'd be an interesting pick, too. He just seems like that would be a potential pick. Dude, you see this guy's frame, you see his get off, you see his hand like this. That would be a potential pick. What can we mold this guy into? I think Zion Young, getting him next to Micah Parsons would be dangerous.
So I also have Zion Young and R. Mason Thomas in the second round, so good for you. And then I have in my notes to trade back in the second round, potentially pick up another pick. And then I have Danny Dennis Sutton from Penn State, also in more towards the back of the second round, or if you want to think of it the other way around and go early third round. But I just think it's at that point of the draft, I think it's a little more likely that they're trading back and picking up an extra pick than it is for them to be using the third rounder to move up and spend an extra pick.
Okay.
All right. Third round.
Third round, I have Derek Moore. I'll talk a little bit more about him later. I have LT Overton out of Alabama. Gabe Jukas out of Illinois, and K'Ron Howard out of Auburn in the third round as well.
All right, third round, I have Romello Height, another guy that the Packers have visited with. I have Jayshon Barham from Michigan, Gabe Jacas from Illinois, like you said, Caden Curry from Ohio State, and then I have Malachi Lawrence from UCF also in the third round.
I have some
fourth round.
I have some of these guys way lower than you. Fourth round is actually where I have Dennis Sutton. I have Anthony Lucas out of USC, Jai Schoen, Burt Barham out of Michigan. That's who I have in the fourth round. My handwriting is a little shitty.
Fourth round is where I have Kieran Crawford, like you mentioned. That's where I have Derek Moore, your guy from the third round. I also have Trey Moore from Texas. I have Mikal Kamara from Indiana. And then I have Mason Reiger from Wisconsin in the fourth round also.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mason Riger is where I have in the 5th round. That's my first guy in the 5th round. Max Llewellyn out of Iowa. Mikhail Kamara out of Indiana, sorry. And that's where I have Caden Curry out of Ohio State. He came in as such a blue chip guy. I really expected him to kind of set the world on fire, and he was just kind of as he was surrounded by all-world talent his entire career in college too.
For me, seeing him turn 46 pressures into 12 sacks was unignorable.
Yeah, I mean, they just overpower a lot of people, like Rutgers. I mean, I get what you're saying.
12 sacks is crazy in college.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right.
5th round is where I have Nadeem Tucker. I literally watched it like it looks like his name would be Nadam or Nadame or Nadame or Nadame. Like I watched a video or an interview from him at the Senior Bowl, and it's Nadeem Tucker from Western Michigan. I have Nigelique Kelly from UCF, Joshua Josephs from Tennessee, and Logan Fano from Utah.
I have Nadeem Tucker in the 6th round and Tyreek Sapp in the 6th round.
All right. The 6th round, the only guy that I have there is George Gums Jr. from Florida.
Great name. And perfect college for that name, to be honest with you.
Right, yeah.
I have Logan Fano out of Utah in the 7th round. Vincent Anthony Jr. From Duke in the 7th round / undrafted. And then my top guy in the 7th round, who I would probably actually pick in the 7th round with that earlier 7th round pick, Quintavious Hutchins.
Yeah, I didn't have anybody at the 236 spot, but I did have Quintavious Hutchins at 255, and then Patrick Payton from LSU.
Oh, okay.
All right. So, again, going into my top 10, I did rule out 4-3 defensive ends, but I will say my number 10 is R. Mason Thomas in the 2nd round as my number 10 edge rusher.
Number 10 is where I have Caden Curry because he is fast and he knows how to get to the quarterback.
All right. I will say, as far up as I had Caden Curry, I didn't have him in my top 10. My number 9 is Kieran Crawford in the 4th round.
Oh, I forgot to say, I have Caden Curry in the 5th round. I apologize. My number 9 is Anthony Lucas out of USC. I have him as a 4th round grade.
All right. My number 8 is Jayshon Barham from Michigan in the 3rd round.
My number 8 is Danny Dennis Sutton out of Penn State. I have a 4th round grade on him. He made my top 10 because I believe if he falls to the 4th round, great value in the 4th round.
All right. My number 7, I have Romello Height from Texas Tech in the 3rd round. And again, he did have a visit with Green Bay.
He has a good name too. I like it.
That's a good name, yeah.
Mikhail Kamara is my number 7 out of Indiana. I have a 5th round grade on him.
All right. Number 6 is where I have Danny Dennis Sutton. I have him trading back in the 2nd round to take him in the back of the 2nd.
I'm with it. Tyreek Sapp out of Florida. He's got a good body frame, so that's why I have the Packers taking him in the 6th round.
All right. My number 5, I have Zion Young. You were mentioning who your guy was that you said probably won't fall to the 2nd. That's kind of how I feel about Zion Young.
Oh.
Like, I don't know that he's going to make it to 52, but if he does, I would run that pick up.
Freaking A, dude. My number 5 is Max Llewellyn out of Iowa. I have a 5th round grade on him.
All right. Number 4 is where I have Nigelique Kelly in the 5th round out of UCF.
We're almost getting there, my guys. Almost getting there. My number 4 is LT Overton out of Alabama. I have a 3rd round grade on him. This guy, he's a winner. That's how I feel about LT Overton. Winner. I was like, I would draft this guy just because he has winning DNA.
All right. My number 3 is my first of 2 guys to highlight. I have George Gums Jr. out of Florida. He is 6'4", 250. He does have some limited pass rush moves, but he has a lot of room to grow, in my opinion. So if you're looking at a guy to take in the 6th round with a large ceiling of potential, he's got good discipline versus the run. He's got a strong burst off the snap, and another guy with a great motor. That stuff, it stands out. His missed tackle percentage is low. He has a very weird path to where he is as an edge rusher as a former wide receiver.
Yeah.
It's not a combination of position groups that usually kind of change up. Usually you'll see guys go from tight end to wide receiver or wide receiver to tight end, or very occasionally you'll see guys go from tight end to offensive line or tight end to quarterback or quarterback to tight end. Like all those things, I have never seen a wide receiver become an edge rusher.
Most of the time, wide receivers from corners.
Yeah, or that. Or safeties even.
Mm-hmm.
So for him to become a wide receiver turned edge rusher and a 41-inch vertical, he has a 918 relative athletic score, something that we know that the Packers like. So if you can grab a guy that's an athletic freak like that in the 6th round, and then you just put him in the lab with DeMarcus Covington, I'm on board. Obviously, the Packers valued DeMarcus Covington to the point to make him like an associate head coach, like an assistant head coach, whatever the title is. They gave him an extra title because he was getting defensive coordinator interviews.
Yeah.
So that guy's, I mean, we've seen Devontae Wyatt improve. I think people are underrating or just plain out hating how much Lucas Van Ness improved last season. The Packers D-line, I think there's a lot of potential there, and just throw another guy in there with some potential, some raw ability, and with a 6th-round pick, I mean, betting on upside like that, I don't think you can go wrong.
Mm-hmm. My number 3 is a guy that I have a 6th-round pick on. It's Nadam Tucker. I said his name wrong. I'm sorry. I kept saying it wrong, dude, when I was writing about him. I'm like,
yeah. All righty. So Nadeem Tucker is actually my other guy to highlight, and he is my number 2. So Nadeem Tucker, projected to go in the 5th or the 6th round. I have a 5th round. From Western Michigan, he's 6'3", 250. Had 3 pretty quiet years at Houston before transferring to Western Michigan. So he only has 740 career snaps. So he's a little inexperienced. But I think he could add some more moves, some more strength, and he can improve against the run a little bit. And it's like, okay, why is that your number 2 guy? In 250 run defensive snaps in 2025, he had a 72.6 grade, which is decent. And then in 300, these numbers are stupid. 316 pass rushes. He had a 93.3 grade from PFF, which again, even if you take that with a handful of salt, is still way higher than the average, which is 60.
Yep.
He had 61 pressures and 14 sacks.
Damn.
That's a 19.3% pressure rate. You're talking 1 in 5 plays Nadeem Tucker had pressure on the opposing quarterback. And then on top of that, he had 37 run stops. So there's all-around potential here, as well as high upside as a pass rusher. So Nadeem Tucker is my number 2.
Yes, sir. My number 2 is my first guy to highlight, and it's Mason Rieger out of the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He has a great first step, elite quickness for a guy who's 6'5", 251. He has long arms. He uses his length to his advantage. Very good at getting that arm out. I mean, obviously, we got to watch him all year long, and I wrote down in my notes, I was like, at times, kind of felt like he was the only man out there that I wanted to watch. Not going to lie to you. I mean, there was other things that we wanted to watch. Obviously, we're fans, so we want to watch everything. But also, if you take a step back, like we are able to do maturely, it was like, yeah, Mason Rieger might be the only guy getting drafted on this team. So I'm going to watch him a little bit closer. He's exciting. He's got a sneaky good spin move that I wrote down. I did not talk about enough in our coverage of the Badgers. Should have talked about that spin move a little bit more. He was all Big Ten honorable mention in the East-West Shrine Bowl. This is really where he started to get some eyes looking at him. He showcased his pass rush ability. He took home the defensive MVP with a 3-sack performance. He has a really good stab and slip move as well. His quickness is just elite. In 2025, he had 33 tackles, 5 sacks, 6 tackles for loss, and 45 pressures on a pretty much lost season at Wisconsin. We're going to call it what it is, right? But he was still good. His 40-yard dash is 4.78. His 10-yard split, 1.61. Just so everybody knows, that's really, really good.
Yeah, wow.
His vertical is 40 inches. That's tied for second among D-line edge players. His broad jump was 10.5. That's top 5 among all D-line and edge rushers. His RAS score was 9.53, which it's graded out of 10, so that's a really, really good RAS score. And in drills where they were specifically testing people's get-off and reaching their top speed, he reached a top speed of 13.79 miles per hour from a three-point stance, which is disgusting to think about, which was the fourth best among all defensive linemen. So Mason Rieger is a guy that brings a little bit of wiggle on the outside. He can act like he's going outside with the quickness. He can come inside. He reminds me, I don't know if this comparison is going to hit, but I went total Badger comparison on this. He reminds me of Andrew Van Ginkel a little bit. I think he's a better athlete than people are giving him credit for.
That I agree with.
And he's a guy that maybe he was around the football a lot last year for the Badgers. So maybe he's just one of those guys where the football is magnetized to him and he can make some plays with the right system. And maybe Green Bay is that system for him.
And I'm just going to jump in and just let you know, Mason Rieger is my number 1. And Jake and I talked about this, and I'm like, all right, listen, Jake, I got like 4 guys at the top of my list that I really like. Do you want to claim Mason Rieger? Because I know that one of us is going to do it. Mm-hmm. So I let Jake have Mason Rieger, and even though he's my number 1 in the 4th round, even though he's kind of being projected in that 4th, 5th round area,
yeah,
the standing out at the Shrine Bowl and the Packers being a team that likes their postseason bowl, where you're competing against your peers kind of bowls, that's where I put a decent amount of stock into it. Like I'm not like moving guys from the 6th to the 3rd round because they had a good Senior Bowl, but it does make me go up like a round.
Yep.
Which, if you have guys that you like, which that's exactly what next week's show is going to be about, is looking at the mock drafts and being like, okay, yeah, there's a guy that I really like who's 10th on the best available board right now, but I don't want to miss out on him in the 5th round just because we don't want to take him 10 spots above his average draft position.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where I feel about Mason Rieger. So I have him at number 1. And then I did put on my notes that he has a great motor, and I think he's a good edge setter as well. And then some good IQ, I think, comes along with that. So
that's fun.
Very, very on board with Mason Rieger, and I'd be willing to take him in the 4th.
For sure. I mean, I wouldn't complain too much if they took Rieger in the 4th round. So my number 1 guy is my last guy to highlight. It's Derek Moore out of Michigan. I was like, you know what? I'm going to do a little bit different with this guy. I'm going to think of 3 words to describe this guy: power, leverage, relentless motor. Those are the 3 words that I came up with Derek Moore. This dude is just a straight-up gamer. Seriously. He's got good, strong hand usage and leg drive in his bull rush. He will need to develop a counter move outside that bull rush, but his bull rush is so good in the college level that he just didn't need to develop anything else. He was manhandling Big Ten offensive linemen with just his bull rush, dude. He's a freak. At 6'4", 255, he has 33 and 7 3/8 inch arms, which is a really good arm length, by the way. Has the ability to win quick off the line every once in a while with his first step. His first step needs a little bit of work. He doesn't have the first step of Mason Rieger. If you can combine Mason Rieger and Derek Moore, you basically get Micah Parsons. To be honest with you.
Same.
He has really good football IQ. He's able to recognize some play designs. He was really good against screens and end arounds, I thought, especially in the Ohio State games. I was watching those games pretty closely. I watched a couple highlights of him in both those games because when you go to Michigan, just like for the Packers, care a little bit more about those Bears games than you do the Lions and the Vikings. Obviously, you care, not to the same extent, right?
Rivalry.
Exactly. He has some work to do as a run defender, but he tends to ride blocks a little bit instead of shedding and getting to the ball handler. He's a very good tackler. He had a few problems this last year, but he really upped his pass rush this last season as well. If he can give consistent effort in the run game, he does set the edge. He just doesn't finish every once in a while. I think if he could be a little bit more consistent in the run game, develop an inside counter, he's going to be a really, really nice piece. I think he'd be a instant day 1 starter if he does both those things. He's still a guy that looks like he's figuring it out. So there's some real untapped potential in there. He had 11 sacks between the seasons of 2022 and 2024. Last season alone, he had 10 sacks. So a really big uptick in the sack department. He had 2 forced fumbles, 3 pass defense, 30 total tackles, 19 of those are solo. He had no combine testing because of a hamstring injury that he obtained a week before. So sadly, no combine testing to make official. So I didn't write anything down because I was like, I don't want to be just putting hearsay on there. So no combine testing for now. So I don't know his measurables really. And there's really no you can't really get a RAV score out of that.
Right. Yeah, it would just be incomplete.
Yeah, it's just unofficial. So again, I didn't want to talk about it if it's unofficial because we're not trying to spread lies around here.
Right.
You hear that, Australia? We don't spread lies around here.
All right. The couple other things that I had on Derek Moore, you mentioned his penchant for pass rushing. He had a 92.4 pass rush grade from PFF, 17.5% pressure rate, and only a 10.3% missed tackle rate, which is pretty good as well. So I think that's worth mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
All right. You ready to talk some boundaries?
I am.
All right. Let's talk corners. Now, just like I had the caveat of I didn't want guys who are going to be like better as a 4-3 defensive end, I'm going to be straight up with you when we talk about corners. Size matters to me. I'm looking at guys who have better size just because I don't want to be in a situation where, we draft the best 5'10" guy and then we put him against Justin Jefferson, who's 6'3", 6'4", and he's just getting mossed because he's 6 inches shorter.
Yeah.
And I get that some of those shorter guys have some dogs in them, but I would rather have some of these taller guys that I think are still very good against coverage. And then I also care about run defense at corner, just because I know it's something I've talked about. It's something that I think Eric Stokes was good at. It's something we've seen Keyshawn Nixon be good at. We've seen Carrington Valentine be good at it, but they just have to finish the fucking tackles when they get behind the line of scrimmage. We've seen those guys be good against the run and diagnosing those plays, especially screens and those bubble screens to the wide receivers and stuff. We've seen those guys blow those plays up. And we've also seen Carrington Valentine, sorry to single you out, but Carrington Valentine have a play dead in the backfield turn into a touchdown because you can't wrap up.
Yeah.
So I also want willing and sound tackling.
Yes.
From the cornerback position.
Yes.
So those are the things that matter to me. I'm sure they matter to you also, but let's just go top down. Let's start at the second round. What are the second round corners that you would take for the Packers?
I have Traden Stokes, D'Angelo Pons, Keith Abney, the second out of Arizona State, Chris Johnson, dude. I know he's more projected in the first round, but everything I've seen is he's first round late, and I'm like, how many corners can really get drafted in the first round? Chris Johnson would be a steal. My favorite guy, also first round late, that I think could maybe slide into the second round if team needs are drafted well for other teams. Keontae Scott out of Miami, dude. I am in love with Keontae Scott, dude. I'm so serious. He's my number one draft crush this year. He answers a lot of questions at the corner, like tackle, zone defense, play recognition. He answers literally every bell that the Packers need at the cornerback position, in my opinion.
Right. He's in my list. He's just not in my second round list. In the second round, I have Brandon Cisse from South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I have Takario Davis from Washington. Dude is 6'4", 200 pounds.
Yeah, he's on my list.
That's an amazing sized corner. And then I also have Davison Igbinosun from Ohio State.
Dude, I'm gonna fuck his name up because I know I am. But what a name, dude!
Yeah, that's a sweet name.
What a name!
All right,
pick 6 by Igbinosun. I mean, just sounds
first try. You're good to go.
I'm just gonna call him Davison. But third round, I have Dalen Everett, and then I have Treylon Stokes and Devin Moore.
Okay. All right. Brace yourself. My third round is long. Third round, I have Julian Neal from Arkansas, Traden Stukes from Arizona, Keontae Scott from Miami, D'Angelo Pons from Indiana, Devin Moore from Florida, Keith Abney III from Arizona State, Malik Muhammad from Texas, and I would also trade back in the 3rd round or trade forward in the 4th round for Charles Demings from Stephen F. Austin.
Oh, okay. See, my first 4th rounder, try to say that 10 times fast.
Nope, I'm good.
Was Malik Muhammad, and I was like, he's a 3rd, 4th round guy, so I just pushed him over the 4th round. But I have Malik Muhammad in the 4th round. Davison, I'm not gonna say his
You
last
nailed it
name.
the first time.
I know, but I don't press my luck. I'm not a betting man anymore. I'm not a betting man. Takario Davis, I have in the 4th round. Julian Neal, and Jalen Kilgore.
All right, 4th round, another name from the all names team. I have Ephesians Prysock from Washington.
Dude, what a fucking name, dude. Some of these names are just elite, dude.
Right? Even Damani Jackson, I feel like that's an underrated name.
It really, dude, that's like, it's such a football name, dude.
Yeah. So I have Damani Jackson from Alabama. I have Andre Fuller from Toledo. That's where I have Dalen Everett from Georgia. That's where I have Jelon Kilgore from South Carolina. And then I also have Chandler Rivers from Duke.
Ooh. My only 5th rounder is Prysock from Washington.
All right, I have 2 5th rounders, and it's another dude with a Bible name, and I have Hezekiah Masses in the 5th round. And then I have TJ Hall from Iowa.
Okay. In the 6th round, that's where I have Hezekiah Masses. I have Domani Jackson, Thaddeus Dixon, and Toriano Pride Jr. in the 6th round.
Hey, I also have Toriano Pride Jr. in the 6th round. And then I have Jaden Kennedy from Oregon as well.
All right. 7th round, that's where I have Brent Austin and TJ Hall.
All right. 7th round and 236, I have Josh Moten from Southern Miss. He's got some off-the-field issues where he'd probably be a much higher pick. But he had some off-field issues, so that slid him down the list for me a little bit. And then at 255, I have Thaddeus Dixon. I have Brent Austin. I have Colin Wright from Stanford. And then I also have Malcolm DeWalt Jr. from Akron, a guy that the Packers have had a top 30 visit with. He's one of those guys where looking at the guys that the Packers have their visits with. They tend to draft those guys a little bit more frequently. So I did sneak him in there just as one of those guys where at 255 that you would want to keep him from reaching that undrafted free agent market. So,
Yes, sir.
Top 10 time. Hit
Yes,
me
sir.
with your number 10 cornerback.
My number 10 is actually the first guy I got to talk about. It's Hezekiah Masses.
All right.
Elite name. Elite name. I will not hear any rebuttal on it. He is a corner from Cal. 1 year at Cal, 6'1", 179. He's a little light. He's going to have to put a little bit of weight on. His RAS score is nothing to write home about, so the Packers probably won't draft him. But I just really liked that he was a 2-star recruit coming out of high school. He's a guy that started his career at FIU. He was the number 2,198th ranked recruit player in his class. He cracked the rotation as a freshman, was named the Freshman All-American. In 2023, he started all 11 games for FIU, 42 tackles. He had 1 interception that he brought back for a 40-yard house call. In 2024, he was being named to some all-conference, all-American teams, obviously for FIU. And then 2025, he made the move from Conference USA to the ACC, which is a really big jump in play. He earned second-team All-American AP. He was first-team All-ACC. He uses his length well on contested catches. He has very, very long arms. His eyes are disciplined in zone coverage. In my opinion, he's a much better zone coverage corner than he is a man coverage corner. His ball production is legit. He had 5 picks on 13 pass breakups against ACC with a 48.4 completion rate on 62 targets. So that is some elite stuff. His 40 was 4.46. His 10-yard split was 1.54. So he has a little bit of stiff hips, but if he could oil those babies up, he could turn into a really nice corner. He has the edge that I like in my defensive players. I like my defensive players to act like they're pissed off all the time.
Yeah.
Which is why I fell in love with Javon Bullard so early, because he hits people like he's pissed off. So Hezekiah Masses, I feel like he's a guy that just acts like he's pissed off all the time. So
I will say, I have in my notes is why I'm not quite as super high on him. I mean, I have him in the 5th round, which I don't think is bad, but he did have 8 penalties. That was one thing that kind of shied me away a little bit.
he's a little grabby, but I want my at least he's still getting interceptions to me. Like he had 5 interceptions. So I mean, I can be okay with penalties if you're getting turnovers as well.
Yeah. My number 10, I have Davison Igbinosun in the second round as my number 10 from Ohio State.
So my number 9 is Toriano Pride Jr. out of Missouri, and I have a 6th round grade on him.
All right. My number 9 is Keontae Scott in the third.
Ooh. My number 8 is Brent Austin out of Cal. I have a 7th round grade on him.
7th rounder in your top 10. How could you?
Good value.
My number 8 is Traden Stukes in the third round.
My number 7, I'm about to go on a run with 4th rounders. I'm just about to let you know that right now because I really, in my gut, I think the Packers are taking a corner in the 4th round. Julian Neal. You have 3? I have Julian Neal out of Arkansas in the 4th round.
I have a run of 3 4th rounders in my top 5.
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Number 7, I have Takario Davis in the second.
All right. My number 6, and that's where I have Takario Davis out of Washington, 6'4", 194, super long athlete. He can run with anybody, dude.
Yeah. Number 6 is where I have Charles Demings to move back in the third or up in the 4th round.
All right. My number 5 is my last guy I have to highlight tonight, and that's where I have so my number 5, my number 4, I put an arrow where like, hey, you can flip these guys on my list, and I wouldn't be too upset with you. That's where I have Malik Muhammad out of Texas. This dude isn't just track speed fast. He ran track in high school, did long jump, and he's a legit athlete. He has really good length, 32 and 3/8 arms, 3/8-inch arms. I mean, I just talked about who did I talk about? Derek Moore having 33-inch arms as a defensive end. So Malik Muhammad having 32-inch arms as a defensive back is like really good. He has good catch radius. Obviously, having long arms gives you a longer catch radius. You can break up more passes. He's very good at mirroring at the top of routes. They call it the stem of the route. He's very good at mirroring in man coverage. He's a willing and physical run defender. Willing and physical run defender. That is the reason that he's getting projected to Green Bay. Willing and physical run defender. He and Bullard would be a problem for offenses if they ended up
put them on the same side of the field. Like the team is not going in that direction.
And then you have LVN on the other side setting the edge.
And Evan Williams.
Now you're talking. Now you're talking about a run defense, dude.
Yeah.
They would be insane. His advanced feet and eyes and zone coverage as well. His IQ was off the charts. He played big in the Oklahoma games because that's still a big rivalry game for Texas. A couple of years ago, he had a big scoop and score for a touchdown that helped Texas win that game. His speed allows him to be a step behind somebody and then catch up in man defense as well. His RAS score was 9.51. So obviously, to Green Bay, the RAS score really matters to them. So Malik Muhammad, I have a 4th round grade on him. Some people have put a 3rd round grade on him. I wouldn't be upset at a 3rd round grade. He has a 3rd, 4th round grade for me. But I ended up just sliding him down 1 round.
It's me. I'm some people. I have Malik Muhammad in the 3rd round.
Yes,
my number 5 guy is Brandon Cisse from South Carolina in the 2nd.
Oh.
He's really the guy that I feel is going to be like the best available corner to the Packers when their first pick comes around.
I can see that. I have Davison from Ohio State in the 4th round as my number 4. Him and Malik Muhammad would be interchangeable for me.
Davison who?
Igbinosun.
See, you got it. You're fine.
I just overthink it, I think.
Number 4, I have Andre Fuller from Toledo in the 4th round.
Oh, okay. My number 3 is Treylon Stokes out of Arizona. I have a 3rd round grade on him.
I also have a 3rd round grade on him. Not in my top 10, though. This is where my 4th round run starts, by the way. It goes 4th, 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 and then my number 1 guy is a 3rd. So number 3, I have Damani Jackson in the 4th round from Alabama.
My number 2 is where I have Dalen Everett out of Georgia. I have a 3rd round grade on him.
All right, number 2 is where my first guy to cover is, and that's where I have Ephesians Prysock out of Washington. He's 6'4", 195 pounds. That's great size. That makes for super tight windows in man coverage and in zone coverage. I think with the bringing in of Jonathan Gannon, what I'm hoping it does is it unlocks the Packers secondary to be a much higher performing group than they were last year. With that size length, making for tight windows, he also has really good route recognition. At his size, I wouldn't say he's a super fluid mover, and he didn't have like an overly productive time in 2025, but only had 1 interception, but a low missed tackle percentage, 5 pass breakups, which is okay. Played a lot on the boundaries, and then a 4.45 40 and a 39-inch vertical to go with a 966 relative athletic score. Like Jake said, that's one of the things that the Packers put stock in. So I did as well. So Ephesians Prysock in the 4th round is my number 2.
My number 1 is Keontae Scott out of Miami. I have a 2nd-round grade on him. I have a man crush on this guy. I think that I literally think he answers every bell for the Packers.
I'm going to look at my notes from Keontae Scott. He is a fantastic run defense and screen recognition. I have it highlighted in green.
Yep.
I also have in my notes that he has great ability as a blitzer, but him being a slot corner is what ended up making him go down farther for me because I'm not.
Yeah,
I want a boundary guy.
I know.
Yeah. That being said, my number 1 guy is Julian Neal from Arkansas. He's 6'2", 208, so he's got pretty respectable size. He did spend 3 years at Fresno State before going to Arkansas. He played just shy of 1,500 career snaps, and he played 1,264 of them on the outside. In 379 run defense snaps in 2025, he had an 85.9 grade from PFF. That's fantastic. And then in 386 coverage snaps, he had a 76.5 grade, a 7.3 missed tackle percentage. If you're below 10%, I'm very happy. And he's at 7.3. 27 out of 48 in coverage, that's 56.3%. That's also very good. Only allowed 3 touchdowns versus 2 interceptions and 8 pass breakups. That's an 82.5 QBR against. Only 4 penalties, so he's not a super huge, grabby guy when it comes to playing against wide receivers. He's a good tackler. He's strong at the catch point. He's a press boundary cornerback. That's what I want. I want to have, like Jake's talking about, having guys that are kind of mean when it comes to defense. I want a guy that's going to be getting up in guys' faces on the line of scrimmage and getting in their face right away. He's good versus the run. He plays downhill. But I will say, with him being a press guy, if he's playing a guy who's like a quick release guy, like Devontae Adams would be a bad matchup for Julian Neal. Devontae Adams is also a bad matchup for everybody.
Pretty much, yeah.
Guys cut from that cloth are the kind of guys that maybe Julian Neal might not be the best against. But overall, if Julian Neal is there in the 3rd round for the Packers, that would be my number 1 targeted corner.
I'm with it.
All right, there you have it. This has been our Wisco Fanatics Draft Series. We've covered 9 positions of need. The Packers have 9 picks. So naturally, we're going to get one of everything, and everybody's going to be happy, and there's going to be no complaints. There's going to be no double dipping. Everything's going to be just one of each, and we're good to go.
No.
Obviously, that's not what's going to happen. So next Tuesday, we're going to run through some scenarios. So next Tuesday, join us for live mock drafts. It'll be the same time next week. We'll talk through it. Like I said, I got my big board hanging out to the left of me here. Jake's going to have a big board as well for where he likes guys being in the draft. And we'll weigh some of the position here versus position there versus who we like in this round versus who's available later on. And we'll weigh all that kind of stuff out. We'll do several of them. Scott, we appreciate it. We'll do several mock drafts. We'll look at it like if they take a receiver in the 2nd round, if they want to go that route, or if they take an edge rusher in the 2nd, and on and on and on and on. And we'll do a handful of mock drafts next Tuesday, but we'll see you guys then. Thanks for tuning in. And then also tune in tomorrow night for our Bucks and Brewers recaps. And we'll see you guys tomorrow and next Wednesday and next Tuesday.